mic is still. Okay. Hi, everybody. This mic is for folks who are on Zoom. There is a mic that's in works back there, and as soon as it's functional, I'll use it so you can hear me better. We apologize for these little technical snags. First of all, thank you for coming to this meeting. You are sitting in this beautiful, the Rod and Merle Mabry dining room, isn't it? It's a beautiful, thank you. So before we get started, almost in a minute or two, I want a few words of thanks. I want to thank President Tidwell for the lunch. Courtesy, President Tidwell. I'm not sure if this turnout is due to lunch or due to me or due to something else. I have no idea. So we'll see. We'll see. I also want to thank some other folks. Nicole Garvey back there, she has been instrumental in making this happen. Thank you so much for what you've done. I also want to thank the campus computing folks. I think Teresa is here and Stephen is here. Thank you for what you've done to make this possible for us. I also want to welcome new senators that are joining us. We are still in the process of working on some missing slots in certain colleges, but we will get them introduced perhaps in October because we're still working on some of that. And we have a full agenda, and we have less time than we used to have. We have about an hour and 20 minutes. We used to have 2 hours, and so I'm gonna try to get this show on the road and move in as quickly as possible. So if I interrupt you or something like that, don't take it personally. We just need to make sure that we get our agenda in place. With that, I would like to introduce Dr. Michael Tidwell, who is going to provide some remarks with respect to where we are in strategic plan and perhaps answer 2 or 3 questions. If you can please, sir, use both, that would be awesome.
Thank you, Queter. Can y'all hear me okay? Perfect. Everybody feeling well? Yes? No? Full of food now? Gonna go to sleep on me? No, don't go to sleep. We had a strategic planning meeting at 1 o'clock a couple days ago, and people's eyes were closing down. I guess they'd just eaten lunch. I don't know what was going on there. Thank you all for coming out. I was telling Queter that it's probably a little bit, you all are showing up in big numbers because of the food and because of him. So if he were to cook the food next time, then this place would be completely full all the way to the back. So I don't know if he's going to do that, though. Are you any good with barbecue? All right, because we could do it right back there on the patio, fill up that whole area with all the faculty. So thank you all for, what's that? What do you say? You giving them a menu, I hope? Yes? I like potato salad, so yes, potato salad, please. Appreciate y'all giving me the mic for a few minutes just to talk about what's going on. I know many of you have been to some of the strategic planning sessions. These are, someone sent me an email the other day, these are actually, I would say as if not more important than the ones we had back in the spring semester, because the conversations we are having right now are etching into stone the direction that we're going to take as a university. So if you're not coming out, if you're not participating on Zoom, then you are missing out on helping redirect this institution over the next 5+ years. So please come out, please be a part of that. We have 4 major pillars to the plan that we've been discussing. Student success, obviously, that's the core of what we do. We want to make sure that our students have all of the personal and professional skill sets they need to be successful. We want to focus on engagement. Our history has been as a commuter campus, and so student engagement historically has not been as important. Students come to campus, leave. but now that we have more students than ever living on campus, we want to make sure that we are engaging them with clubs and fraternal organizations and sororities and athletics and all that fun stuff that goes along with a traditional university or collegiate campus. And so student engagement will be really key. You all know that we are in the process of searching for a new VP of Student Affairs, because as we look at possibly going to Division II, Howard-Patterson's full focus needs to be on that. As I've said publicly, just the application to go to Division II was like 500 pages. And so he really needs to be focused on that. We're working with a consultant on that as well. And so we are looking for, in fact, I saw kind of the mock-up of the job description just this morning. So it's going to be really, really fun as we go out into the marketplace for a new VP of Student Affairs to help us both with student success, but that's all of our responsibilities, and student engagement, which again is all of our responsibilities. Faculty, staff, administrators, even the students themselves will play a big role in that. And so those are kind of the two key, really student-focused initiatives. But research is a big key. And so we will have a research pillar that looks at how do we go about doing research, how do we fund it, what kinds of grants, what kinds of support mechanisms do we need in place, and then how do we move our entire research portfolio forward as an institution, not as an individual or as a department or even just as a college, but as an institution, because the primary difference between a university and a community college is the research that faculty do. So the expectation is every tenure track faculty member is engaged in some level of discovery or scholarship. Now that's defined by your department, by your discipline, by your field, not by somebody sitting up on the third floor gets to decide what research looks like down in your area. No, that's your field that decides what research looks like or discovery looks like in your field. So that'll be a really, really, really big key. And then the last and fourth pillar, obviously, as many of you already know, is outreach. We want to make sure that we are being of service to the region. We are a state university. We can't sit behind our treed curtain here around campus. We have to get out. A lot of you already do that. So we want to capture what you're already doing, codify that, and maybe take some of the best practices that you've picked up over the last few years of working outside of campus, taking your knowledge and expertise outside of campus, and then make sure that we use that as fertilizer for other parts of campus that may want to do the same kind of work. It's not about changing anything that you're already doing, any of the great work you may already be doing, but your great idea could potentially be a campus idea. And so we want to make sure that we're able to capture that if we can. So those are just a few of the big things that we'll be working on strategic plan-wise. It's about the whole community coming together. It's not my plan. It's not my vision. It's not my mission. Again, these things were developed and discussed in a very, very open and transparent way. With shared governance being practiced all along the way with faculty, staff, and even students have taken part in it as well. So again, if you've got time, we try to make sure that we let you all know well ahead of time when the meetings are. We want you to come out, continue to take part of those, because these will set the direction. I promise you. We're not going to have that plan and then I go off and start doing something else. The things that are in the plan are the things that we will do as a university campus. And those are the things that we're going to resource as well. So one other quick thing, obviously there's a lot going on, but I know you all have a long agenda. We are going to be working very hard, and this is ancillary to everything I've talked about so far, but it's also related at the same time. We're going to be working over the next few weeks and months to adopt a more traditional style to the way we go about naming our buildings on campus. If you all haven't noticed, many universities tend to have buildings that are named after very well-regarded, retired, or even faculty members that have passed on, or former presidents that have passed on, and community members and so forth, Smith Hall or Jones Hall, or so forth, so on. We don't really have a lot of that around this campus. I mean, if someone donated significant amount of money, then we'll put their name on a building, but that's it. I mean, even the building that the administration building is really called the James Stewart Administration Building, but we just call it the Administration Building. And there's nothing fun about that, or historic, or academic about that. So we're going to begin to call it what I think it really is, and that's Stewart Hall. And so we'll go through that whole process of making sure that everybody knows it's no longer the administration building, it's now Stewart Hall. And there's a whole process we've got to go through down in Austin to make that happen. But we want to make sure, again, that we look and feel less like kind of an on and off campus and more like a residential university. As our enrollment continues to increase, we have more students living on campus. In fact, I've got a guy from the Talon come in and interview me today because the students are complaining that, at housing, I think even probably 3 or 4 months ago, we were already over 100% occupancy in our housing. So we're looking at some housing options that would help alleviate some of the pressure we're having on housing, because we are becoming a destination campus where students want to come, get educated, live for 4, 5, 6 years if they're going on for a graduate degree before they decide their next step in life. So we want to make sure that we give them that full experience, collegiate experience. So the building names is such a small thing, but it's also meaningful at the same time. We'll be putting together a committee because, I don't know a lot of the folks who have passed on or retired that we might want to honor with a building name. We're not talking about like the business building. Somebody retires, we're going to put their name on the business building. No, we're not talking about that kind of thing. We're talking about smaller, nondescript buildings that probably no one's going to want to name that building. So those are the kinds of facilities I'm talking about. But big mega structures, multi-million-dollar, brand new, we're looking for donors for those facilities. But smaller buildings, older, no one's probably going to want to name. Let's honor a retired faculty member. Let's honor a retired administrator or even a community member, again, that's had some impact. So we'll have a committee that we're going to be putting together to offer up some suggestions on that. And so that's, we'll have a few more details to come. So that was kind of it. Any quick questions for me? Next Monday, 2 o'clock, your deans or department chairs will be coming to have what we call the report out for the strategic plan. And those are just ideas about the 4 major pillars. Again, we're asking every college or department to have one idea of something they would like to do to move the institution, or in this case, their college or department forward in that area. So everyone will come forward with a student success initiative. Not every individual, but every college will come forward with one initiative that college will get behind. So it'll be a really, really fun afternoon this coming Monday. So if you can come out, we're in the UC Theater. I'd love to see you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Question? So one example is we are, well, a lot of you are already involved in, and where's Catherine? She should be here. She's in Dallas, at the Student Success thing in Dallas. Yes, great. So you all do a lot of outreach already with your classes, and so you may have students working on projects, whether you're in the sciences or in the arts, any other number of things. We don't want you to stop doing what you have been doing, but if you are in a college or in a department that's already really engaged, like maybe it's the business school and you've got the marketing department doing marketing plans for local nonprofit organizations, just keep doing that. Just let us know that you're doing that so we can continue to, so that we can begin to measure that, report that, and maybe resource it so you can do it in a more significant way. There are a variety of cities around the region that would like for us to come in and do economic development studies, that would like for us to come in and maybe partner with their local high schools or elementary or middle schools on a number of projects. Really anything that's going to help the region grow or thrive. If it's outside of this campus, that would be considered a community outreach type project. But really, the ideas are going to be yours. I've got a few that we've already talked about, but the major ideas that we want to resource are going to come from the faculty and the staff. Anything else on Zoom? Yes. Easy answer. Anything else from this group? I appreciate y'all being here. I know Queter and the other senators have worked really hard to kind of redesign this group and how it functions because we want maximum participation. And so please continue to come out. I'd love it if the room were all the way back there filled with chairs, and Amir would have to find more money for food. And so, but please continue to come out. Shared governance is important to myself. It's important to Amir. We don't have all the ideas, folks. We do not have all of the ideas. We need strong faculty who are working alongside the administration to move our university forward. And so your participation is going to be really, really necessary. So thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
For those of you who haven't eaten yet, there's more food, more plates, more everything now. And there's chairs coming in for those of you standing in the back. And next month, when we meet again, please do RSVP so we can make sure we fill this room and we can make sure food. My apologies for, we had the number of people who responded plus 15. And so that's what we got. And so next time we'll do better, I promise. Before we go into the next item on the agenda, Dr. Mirmiran, he's back there. A couple of things, we need to review the minutes. By the way, do you guys like this new format that we've been communicating with you on, the agenda, the click here to RSVP, click here to see the minutes? Is that good? Is that working? So we're gonna keep doing it. And so I'm hoping that you have actually had a chance to click on the minutes and read them. And so we're gonna go ahead and do that now and review and approve the minutes. And I need someone to make a motion. A second. And all in favor? All opposed? None? So motion carries. Thank you so much. A slight tweak in the agenda. Amy Hayes, Dr. Hayes is on the agenda to talk about the QAP survey. I'm going to move her up a little bit right after Provost Mirmiran, if that's okay, because she needs to go back by, if that's okay. So with that, Dr. Mirmiran is going to provide an update on three things: on the annual report, student success, and on the non-tenure track faculty ranks and promotions.
Thank you very much. Okay.
You need to use.
Oh, I need both. Okay. Thank you very much, Quater. As he mentioned, I have three updates, but I wanted to add another one, which was recently coming up in terms of the core courses. So I will try to address that also very briefly. First, I wanted to talk about the annual reports. We have already posted on the website of the Academic Affairs the annual report that does include the report of every one of the 6 academic colleges, as well as the Graduate School University College Honors Program and the library. And so I think that is a very nice compilation of the accomplishment of our faculty, staff, and students in these colleges and these units. So I would really recommend you to take a look at it. We are very proud of what they have done, and we think that this report would actually showcase the very many honorable things that our faculty do on a day in, day out. And I think that's a good way of trying to capture it at least once a year and thank them, if no other ways, at least through these reporting. The second thing I wanted to update you is on the student success. As the President said, the student success is on everybody's mind, and I'm happy to report that perhaps the very first indication that we are moving in the right direction is that we looked at the retention of freshmen, those first-time, full-time freshmen that came to the university last fall of 16, based on the number of students that are retained. Basically, we have 64% retention, which is about 6 or 7% higher than what we had last year. So we are moving in the right direction. But the better thing is that if we exclude the CAP students, who are the ones who are telling us that they're going to actually go to the UT Austin at the end of the year, if we exclude them, we'll be at a historic record of about 76%. So we are very delighted. I want to say that again, this is thanks to the faculty, to the academic advisors. It is because this past year we actually embedded the advisors in the colleges. That's the first time that happened. And also we hired a number of advisors. The Office of Academic Success also has expanded their tutoring center, and they have a full-fledged program at the library. So all of these, I think, would help. And that's why we're hoping that we are moving in the right direction. But I would tell you that this is just the beginning, and we still have to aim at reaching over 70%, 75% when it comes to all our students. And if we exclude the caps, we should really be in the 80s. So that's what we should aim at if you want to actually increase our graduation rate further. And of course, graduation rate lags behind some time. The third thing that Quitter asked me to address is the non-tenure track ranks and promotion. And in fact, this was one of the items that last year the Academic Affairs took it on, and we discussed it among the deans of different colleges to see how it impacts their programs. We consulted with the Regents rule in terms of the ranks that are available. And based on all of that, Dr. Geiger, in working together with the deans, has come up with a proposal in terms of what we're going to do in terms of designating different ranks for lecturers, senior lecturers, and I believe distinguished lecturers. And the Regent rule basically says that there should be comparable standards in terms of designating the rank for tenure track faculty and for the lecturers and senior lecturers and so forth. So the main issue that comes to mind would be what would be the impact of the requiring the terminal degree, at least from senior lecturer going forward. So that's why this is still being reviewed. The next step for us would be to discuss with the Faculty Senate and get their input. We're going to also present it to the cabinet, and hopefully we'll be able to, during this academic year, take it to the Hub Committee and be able to have a conclusion, bring this to a conclusion in terms of what we need to do, both in terms of ranks and, of course, the promotion criteria. And again, I'd be open for questions on any one of these items that I brought up. The last item that I want to, in the interest of your time, bring up quickly is the issue that, again, was posed to me by, I believe, Dr. Ross or Dr. Mokhtari, about what percentage of our core courses are currently being taught by tenured or tenure track faculty. And we looked at it based on fall of 17, and it may have been that we looked at it few months ago when the schedule was just put out. So based on that and based on the classification of the faculty, it seems as though, if my memory serves me right, we have about 27% about 27% that are taught by adjuncts. So that means more than 1 out of 4 courses at the core level. When we have freshmen that are coming in, for the most part, or some transfer, early transfers, they're really seeing our adjuncts as the point of contact in terms of the core courses. About, I would say, 12% tenure track faculty, which are assistant professor, another 16% are tenured faculty, but for the most part, I would say 14% are associate professor, or perhaps 2% professors. And then the other 45%, the remaining, would be lecturers, senior lecturers, visiting lecturers, even graduate students, which not that much based on the ones who are perhaps at the PhD level. They may be teaching a course or two here or there. But basically, as you can see, we're not where we want to be. We want to make sure that we have more contact with the freshmen, with the seasoned faculty that are in the tenure track line, or even lecturers, senior lecturers. And I think we must get there. One of the things that I would bring to your attention, and I would submit to you for consideration, is that not only we don't have an incentive for a faculty member, and of course this is really to some extent the decisions of the chairs to be able to assign courses to the faculty, but not only we don't have incentive, we have disincentive. And I would give you an example of a disincentive. If I am a faculty member and I'm teaching a graduate course with, let's say, 10, 15 students, as compared to if I'm the same faculty member teaching, let's say, a core course, let's say economics, microeconomics course, with the enrollment levels that we have had, which is about 100 students, I get more workload credit for that course, graduate course, as opposed to an undergraduate core course. So there we have built, and it's not we, the Regent rule, which by the way is going away, we have built those type of disincentives to be able to truly and effectively engage our seasoned faculty with the freshmen. And I hope in dialogue and conversation with the Faculty Senate and with the broader faculty input, we would be able to move towards a system that would allow us to give enough credit to both the ones who are teaching at the graduate level and in enriching the life of our graduate students, as well as those who are the first contact with our undergraduate students, with freshmen. And I think that equivalency systems hopefully would be able to be revisited, because at the end of the day, a course is a course is a course, and hopefully we'll be able to all pitch in and be able to work with getting what Quader has been saying, no rookie on rookie. Hopefully we'll be able to do that. That's all I have. I'm open for any questions that you may have.
I do have a question, if I might. Can you all hear me? My review of the 2017, fall 2017 data, maybe I'm not reading it correctly. If you look at all teaching faculty and you separate them by two groups, tenure track versus everybody else, tenure track is roughly 24%. Core courses taught by tenure track faculty are roughly 24%.
28%, but you're close.
And then 68% everything else. Is that?
The rest is everything else, but then part of it is adjunct, part of it is lecture.
Right, it's a mix. It's a mix of grad students, adjuncts, instructors, and on and on. So it's 20-something versus 60-something.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Any questions? Any other questions?
There's a question on Zoom. What about nursing with clinical instructors?
I think we only looked at core courses. So if they have, and core courses primarily would be in arts and sciences or in education psychology, I believe, right? There's one in the College of Education Psychology held so dearly by both the chair and the dean. So otherwise, everything else would be probably in arts and sciences. So that's why nursing would not be affected. We're talking about the core courses.
Other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Memmer, I appreciate it. Thank you. Our next speaker on the agenda is Dr. Hayes, and she's going to share some information about the QEP survey. She's going to give us an update, but I just want to make a comment. In the upcoming meetings, we're going to try to arrange them in such a way as if there are substantive issues that need to be talked about in some substantive way, we can have more time for that. So if you agree with that, because again, today, the agenda, we're going to run through a lot of things for this first meeting, but in the October, November, et cetera, we'll try to pick a few really important items so that those of you who have issues or questions can have an opportunity to voice and to suggest ideas, et cetera. Does that make sense? So.
Do I need a clicker? Or?
The clicker, somebody's going to do the clicking for you back there because we don't have a clicker. And that's the other thing we're working on.
No clicking. Okay. Hi, I'm Amy Hayes. I will be very brief. I just wanted to let you know what we've been doing working on the QEP topic selection committee and let you know about a few opportunities coming up for you to give us your input. So can you click? So the point, what a QEP stands for, if you aren't sure, it's the Quality Enhancement Plan, and developing a QEP is part of how we are supposed to be enhancing student learning and or the student environment, and it is part of our SACS reaffirmation process. So the most recent QEP was about global leadership, and that just ended, and we are working on selecting a new QEP topic for our 2020 reaffirmation process. Whatever we pick for the QEP should be something that supports our mission and our strategic plan, including the new one that we're coming up with now. And it's going to be embedded within ongoing institution-wide planning and evaluation processes. The way this works is that we get input from a whole bunch of different stakeholders, including faculty and staff, but also students, alumni, and community stakeholders. So we're going to be, and I'm on sort of the data collection committee part of it. So we're going to be selecting a topic based on the input that we get from this whole variety of stakeholders, including you. So what we've been working on so far, so we met in May, and then our surveys committee has been working over the summer to develop a series of surveys that we're going to be sending out to all of these different stakeholders to try to identify sort of the key themes that people might want to see in a QEP. It's going to involve a series of 2 or 3 surveys over the fall semester. Told you I'd be quick. One more, like 2 more slides. So why are there going to be so many surveys? What we're hoping to do is start pretty broad and then start to identify and converge on themes that everybody kind of agrees on. So the first, and all of the surveys are going to be very, very quick to take. So we're not talking like we're going to ask 20 minutes of your time every time. Very brief surveys. We've generated some possible ideas, and there will also be places for you to, I want to say self-report, because I'm a psychologist, generate your own ideas that you can type in open-ended. And then with each iteration of the survey, we're going to be narrowing down, and then a final list of topics that have been generated from our survey and voted on will be presented at the end of the fall semester, and that will be presented to President Tidwell, who will evaluate the results and make the final QEP decision. At this point, the first survey has been developed. We have a tentative launch date of the first week in October. We've gotten feedback on that survey from Dr. Miramaran and Dr. Tidwell at this point. So we will be sending that out pretty soon. And it's really, really important that we get as much feedback and buy-in from faculty as we can, because this is something that's going to really impact a lot of our students' lives and the initiatives that we're going to have on campus. And I think, is that the last slide? That's the end. Okay, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, but please be on the lookout for those surveys. They're really important, and we've already kind of come up with some cool ideas that we've put on there, but we're happy to get everybody's ideas as well. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Amy. I'm assuming, Amy, that what the work that the QP is going to be doing is going to have some implications or direct implication for connections with the strategic plan.
Yes, we're hoping it's going to really complement that well and fit in really well with the
Okay, okay. Is Lance in the building? Lance? I know he's going to be late. He's not here yet. Anyway, so the next item on the agenda. Yes, sir. The mic, this one? Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. Is it working? Awesome. Say something. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Awesome. So we have the next part. My part of on the agenda is probably going to be the longest, so please bear with me. But we have 2 other items on the agenda. Perhaps one is going to be led by Drs. Geiger and Fisher about the committees. If you guys want to do that now, we can do that, and I can do my part after that. Dr. Geiger, is that okay? Because I don't think that's going to take that much time, that long. And then, Dr. Geiger, if you're up to it, if you don't mind, if you can talk about the other item that you're on, the research assistantships, if that's okay, and then I can finish it off with my part. Is that all right?
Mary, how are we going to share this? Come close.
I've got a script. I don't know about you.
Okay, go ahead with your script.
Well, mine pertains to the Faculty Senate. And there has been some concern about just exactly where all of this derives from. And basically the HOP in section 360 tells us that our purpose is to make the Senate's purpose is to make recommendations to the president for the administration of UT Tyler, or the University of Texas at Tyler, to seek the judgment and counsel of the faculty about matters of mutual concern. Now, there are 6 officers that are on the Faculty Senate. Of course, Cleator Maratari is our president. Wycliffe, are you here? No, Bowie. He's our president-elect. Lance Williams is our past president, just finished up. Colin Snyder over here clicking away at the keyboard is our secretary. Gus Gordon is our treasurer, the money man, and I have to keep them straight because I'm the parliamentarian. Mine is an appointed position as decreed by the HOP data. We have members, they're comprised at the large that in the institution has elected. We have 3 of those in that class. We have a 2018 person, 2019 person, and a 2020. The 2019 at-large senator is also the fact representative, and at that point in time, it's Dr. John Lamb that scoots off down to Austin to work with the Faculty Advisory Council. Yeah, got it. And you do that for each of your 3 years of your term in order to maintain continuity, which is phenomenal because there are a lot of colleges who do, or institutions who do not do that. They change every year and there's just a break every year. So somebody has to learn what they're doing. And by the end of the year, when they figure out what's what, they're gone. So a couple of years ago, we changed our HOP to make that appointed to the position. We have 3 elected senators. Elected by the librarians, not by faculty, us, whatnot. We have a term, they serve terms also 2018, 19, and 20 currently. Then we have university or institutional committee representation. And that's not willy-nilly. That is actually prescribed by the Handbook of Operations and Procedures. So we have an education. We have a representative. Those representatives have to meet not only a longevity criteria, but an achievement criteria. At the moment, the College of Pharmacy has not been with us sufficiently long representative at the table for the Meriti deliberations. A copy of this will be put on the faculty website for your perusal.
Thank you, Mary. One other kind of update related to committees is last year, I think we were running about 20 to 23 committees. That's a very large number. They were all called university committees. The committee structure that will be in place for this year really focuses on those committees being called university committees that are mandated in the HOP or expected in the HOP. And we've added a few other committees that really make some sense in terms of that they should be university committees, but right now they're not identified as such.
In fact, those are the committees that I've just shared with you that have faculty senate representation. The one that is being added for your information happens to be the facilities and space
committee. The other types of committees that we learned are that there are some committees mandated by the system and they're not in the HOP, and yet we should be conducting those. So we've identified potential members for those committees, and they will also be a type of required committee. And then we have a collection of committees that had existed within the group last year that really seem to be focused on providing guidance or advice to certain subunits in the university. For example, the Intercollegiate Athletics Committee really was intended to provide support around intercollegiate athletic activities. So those are really being spun off. They will continue to exist, but they will be populated, and their charges will really be created by the heads of their respective units that are getting that advice. So the number of committees going forward is going to be closer to 10 than it is to 20, and it has been above 20 in the last year. In terms of what's happening with these committees unfolding, we are waiting for some nominations from student government, and I had an email this morning that we will have those remaining student members identified by the end of next week. We have to get approval by the president, and folks will be formally notified, I guess, of their willingness to inquire about their willingness to serve on these committees, which should come as no surprise because you should have had communication with your chairs and deans about serving on the committees. I'm not sure, ultimately, the graduate council has been operating already. The undergraduate council will probably be operating before we get the final closure from the president. There's no need to actually suspend some of this activity that may need to be started before the end of the month when we should get closure from the president. So any questions that Mary and I can answer about committees?
And why am I standing here while he does that? Guess who's the doobie?
Okay.
We're off the hook.
We're off the hook. Okay.
But I think you're still standing.
Okay. All right. No question? And then the second topic that I was asked to talk a little bit about are graduate assistants. And this fall, we had funds available, and actually we had funds available last spring, but this fall we had funds available from the provost's office to provide 30 graduate assistantships. And each of those assistantships is in the amount of $3,500. The source of those funds is from instructional support fees. Okay, now that's an important piece to keep in mind because it attaches to the type of assignments students can have. To be funded from instructional support fees, you have to support instruction. So they would be helping faculty with the delivery of instruction, with grading, with other kinds of assignments related to instruction to warrant support through this particular financial source. Now, what we've tried to do to promote scholarship by both faculty and students is to tie those awards to students who are going to be engaged in formal research and scholarship, and those would be students who are working on dissertations or theses. So that was the turn that was put on it for this fall, and we did award all 30 of those graduate assistantships, but it was intentionally focused on students who would be working with with faculty on thesis or dissertation activities, yet who could also, and this was what the work aspect was, who would also be able to provide support for instruction to faculty in the department. And so that's what I can tell you. The intention going forward, I know that there have been some questions asked about, well, we have students who have a project option. Engineering has some of those. I'm trying to remember, there may be other programs that have that kind of option, and that project would be a form of scholarship in most cases. But we started with the more formal kind of scholarship piece, the thesis dissertation, partially because we didn't know what the demand would be if it was broader than that. So if it turns out that we can expand to the notion of scholarship broader than the thesis and dissertation, we will certainly try to do that. Any questions? Queter. Yes, sir. Good, very good question. The logistics are important. The intention is that it would be renewable based on the recommendation of the faculty member who is working with the student. Where we get into a bind, it will be the second year. The first year, we only have this one group of people moving forward, so we can do it fall and spring. The second year, they're probably not going to be finished with their thesis or dissertation, so we're going to have to find a way to continue to support them as well as bring in new students. So, but the ship has been launched, and now we've got to figure out how we can continue to provide the support it's going to need to take care of students, at least I would say for a 2-year period.
Thank you, Dr. Geiger. I do have a question, a comment and a question about this item, if I may. The comment is, I'm a problem kid. Here we go.
What happens when you wear a tie?
I don't know. Working okay now? Okay, so here's what I'm hearing from faculty, some faculty, not all of them, but I've heard from probably a sufficient number that I think for the issue to be looked up, taken up and discussed perhaps. Faculty are basically saying, well, how come I'm working with grad assistants and my students are not getting this money? Another faculty member says, what if a student starts off as a thesis person and then they drop it? And what happens to that? And going back to the first issue, I can use myself as an example. This semester, I'm working with 17 graduate research assistants. Every one of them is involved in research. Every one of them is going to be doing some sort of presentation, writing papers for publication, et cetera, et cetera. Why am I not getting something like that? Does that make sense? So may I suggest that we take this item under advisement and talk about it more to see how we could do it in a way that perhaps would be more fair, that would have value for others who are doing. If the intent is to focus on research and the research productivity and to encourage students to do research, maybe we need to sit and talk about it again to see what we can do so that it's a fair.
I think that's certainly something that we can ask the Graduate Council to take a look at in terms of giving advice on how to make this more expansive. The other piece that I would mention is the 30 that we have are really coming from one source. That doesn't need to be the only source of funds available for students engaged in research and scholarship. Our most likely sources have been from grants in certain areas that may have built in research assistantship pieces. But when we use the the instructional support fee, we have to honor the parameters for the use of those dollars. And I'm not saying that there cannot be ways where we can show how, if the instruction is involved in getting into research, that we couldn't use some of those dollars to expand the scope of what's been able to be done there. But I certainly think we're welcome to input on a better way to use these monies to promote scholarship, which is part of what the university really wants to continue to push, and especially at the graduate level.
Thank you. Can we then continue having this conversation to see what we can do? Question.
Question. I've heard the word fairness. I've also heard what's broadly perhaps described as scholarship for a graduate student. Within the College of Business, we have a ton of MBA students, masters of HRD, etc. And most, if not all of those, except for a few in the computer science area, don't have a thesis requirement. Right. However, within those courses, many of those graduate level courses, there are applying projects, not qualified as thesis, not qualified as dissertations, and maybe not seen as scholarship by many. However, the business world is our environment, and they're an active part, they're playing an active part in those graduate classes, yet we're not eligible.
Yeah, I think you're not alone. I mean, in my program, we have courses that are research courses where people, right. And And this is precisely why I'm proposing that we dig a little bit deeper into this issue and see what we can do that can be more fair, for lack of a better word.
And I do appreciate the scholarship of application. So I think we've got to start in some narrow way, and the conversation about how to make the limited money go farther and maybe touch more programs that it isn't able to touch at this first launch is a discussion worth having.
Okay.
Maybe simplistic addresses the breadth of support that we went from musicians at the economy semester year, expensive stipends for research, and
That's a good idea.
I think that's a good idea. Again, I just keep coming back and I ask you to think through this because it may take some creative thinking. Is the source that we have at this point of instructional support, and those have their limitations, but that doesn't mean we can't maybe get a little bit more creative and still legitimately use those for the purposes that we're talking about.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Geiger. Is Mr. Hepler here? Bob Hepler? Is Bob Hepler here? Bob Hepler is going to provide some insights on the gym membership. He's not here? So, okay. Before I get to my part, if I might, on the agenda, there is an item at the very top that says special recognition. And that recognition has to do with this gentleman sitting over here, Dr. Williams. We have a token of appreciation for him in recognition of the incredible work that he did last year. You heard the conversation about the committees. He worked tirelessly to streamline that process, and we are delighted to recognize his work and his leadership. And we want to present him with a plaque that acknowledges that. And the plaque looks like this. And I can read you what it says. It says, Outstanding Leadership Award presented to Dr. Lance Williams in grateful appreciation for your superior leadership as President of the Faculty Senate, the University of Texas at Tyler, September 21, 2017. We're delighted to present this to you, Lance. Well deserved. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for the incredible work that you did last year. And probably more importantly, thanks for sticking with me this year. So, okay. Can we go back to the Zoom? We have a Zoom. Who? Bob Hepler. Oh, he is coming? Okay, he's actually literally just walking in the door. That's awesome. So, the issue of the gym membership was brought to our attention by a group of faculty, and we had asked Mr. Howard Peterson Dr. Peterson to talk about this issue. He's not able to be here, so Bob Hepler, I believe, is going to speak on his behalf. And as soon as he walks in, we can do that. There he is. You timed it. You timed it perfectly. Oh, okay. So if you can please use both of these. One is for Zoom and the other one is, you can put this in your pocket. This is Zoom and that's for the mic. Thank you so much. Pretty truthful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. This was unexpected, but great. I guess I'm here to just give you guys information, a little background on the history of charging staff and faculty for access to the Patriot Center, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions if I could. So the Patriot Center is an auxiliary service, meaning we have to pay for custodial and power and all these other bills. And we have to try to make as much money as we can to do things like get new machines or repair, facilities. Or right now I'm trying to gather enough money because in the afternoons, if you're there at the Patriot Center at, let's say, 5 o'clock, I mean, it's just packed and it's busting at the seams. And we don't have enough money to get a new building. So I'm trying to take out that stupid wavy fence, if you've been in the building, and expand it out, change the setup of the front desk for the entrance. That's going to supply us with a lot more programming space. And for me, more importantly, make the building more safer and secure. So that's part of it, is that, being an auxiliary service, we have machines in there that are designed to be in an environment like ours for maybe 2 or 3 years, like a treadmill, for example. Our treadmills are 6, 7 years old. We keep them up, keep them functioning, so people think that they're new, but they're not. We have spin bikes that are as old as the building, so 2003. They'll fall apart during a class, and we'll fix them. But, so your membership money, which equates to about $30,000 a year, really makes a big difference with those types of expenses. Other campuses. So I went through, and I did see a letter that was circulated, and it concerned me because I want to make sure I present the right facts here. UT Austin, a faculty person there would pay $312 a year. Here it's $150. UT Arlington is $20 a month. Okay, so $240 a year. And then SFA, $30 a month. A&M Commerce, $110 a semester, so times 3. College Station, $32 a month. A&M Corpus Christi, $35 a month. I couldn't get a figure on A&M San Antonio, but UT San Antonio was $30 a month. TJC, talking to the people over there, if you belong to the President's Circle, which means $1,000 a year donation or more, then you get free access. That's the information I got. That's the closest I got to staff and faculty. So I am not 100% sure that that's what staff and faculty pay over there. But to my understanding, that's what a staff faculty person would have to pay to get a free membership. But I could be wrong there. And then finally, as far as a big part of our funding is student fees. So we get $40 a semester from students for the fall and spring semester, and a little bit less, I think it's $20 for the summer, if they're in summer classes. That's the lowest of any state of Texas college or university. The next lowest is UT Dallas at $65. The average for any state institution as of the spring, when I submitted our budget, was over $103 a semester. So that puts us behind right there. And of course, I'm working with Dr. Patterson and Dr. Tidwell, potentially, at some type of student fee increase. I have mixed emotions because I love the fact that we also have one of the smallest rec sports staffs in the state of Texas. For example, we have 4 professional staff. A&M Commerce, a little bit bigger school, but not much. They have 12 professional staff. We do as many programs as they do with a much smaller staff. So I really feel we do a lot with a little bit, so I love that. I hate the idea of charging students more money. But at the same time, if we want to keep up with SFA and commerce in schools like that and get these students here, that building over there is an attraction. And we are falling behind. We don't have a climbing wall. We have a pool that's great for little community kids in the summertime, but not for college students. It's those types of things that we're constantly struggling with. So that's a little background That's, you know, the knowledge I have. I don't know if you have any specific questions for me.
Percentage-wise, what percentage does of your income is from faculty memberships?
About 10%.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Give or take a percent, but yeah.
Other questions? Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Question. Okay.
First decide to use the gym, but then they cannot, simply because of financial constraints. We are aware that our new faculty members, assistant professors, right out of college, as graduates, their first paycheck does not come until October 1st. So this kind of really constraints.
I decided to Zoom couldn't RSVP for lunch, and it turned out nobody had RSVP for lunch.
Sometimes they use like once a
We're
week.
getting other stuff done. So it's good.
You know, so that they get to next time. Just how
Right.
it doesn't just
Yeah, but I ran into her.
regular behavior. You know, so this basically are my concerns. However, I checked the same sources on Austin. Actually, Austin, although they say it's a
Oh, it's because I'm
university.
Oh, I'm out on Tuesday.
They don't make
Yeah.
they have
It's next week. So, anyway, I mean, that could change. So then this will all be a new point. But I thought, you know,
I sympathize with the situation here, and I think this is a great opportunity for the university to discuss the segments in this area that everybody wants to use. I did not have to come up with this idea until I was at the benefit meeting. And I talked to other people. I would say immediately. They found out that benefit to be healthy, to fit, to keep our awareness, basically, wellness is a part of the initiatives of the system. That's why I raise up this issue.
Right.
And then sometimes I would go to the gym just to see students. And sometimes play music.
I text you maybe after hours.
Things going on. No, actually, they're not English majors.
I really need to talk now. And she helped me to text me here today. And I go, yeah, she's there. I said, what's it about? And she said, it was an ad. And I said, well, tell her it's a.
I did want to say that when a new staff or faculty comes on board at UT Tyler, working with Amy Klein when she first started, we came up with a program that if they choose to, their first 3 months would be free, and that's kind of a marketing thing, you know, to try to lure them in and then take their money later. But it does get them in the gym for those first few months, anyways. So we did try to address that.
The money for the gym, you know, when you go.
Right.
Well, we're the cheapest in the whole state of all universities. So what's not going to? Oh, really? No, I don't think you mentioned that.
Right.
Like what? Who's class? I mean, like elected. Well, that sucks.
Any other questions?
I had a good meeting with David. Yeah, he's apologized. He said I was just trying to help him.
Yeah, it's $5 a day. Yeah.
I said I'm not.
Yeah, and you know, you would just show either your driver's license or your UT Tyler ID. So there is that option.
I said, you did the right thing because I'm staying away until I said, let me get this meeting. He said the last two issues.
Okay. So we have about 15 minutes left. And so what I'm going to do with, I hope you can hang on with me for another 10 or 15 minutes. What I want to do is to give you a little bit of a walkthrough of this proposal that you guys have heard about, that the Faculty Senate is proposing to do, some activities that the Faculty Senate has been thinking about. This is, so I want to provide you with a little bit of context, and then I'm going to kind of walk you through some highlights, and then hopefully I'm going to give you a copy of this. We're going to put it on the website so you can have access to it. And we would love to have some feedback from you. But so I'll start with the context. Nicole, if you can help me with this when you can. So this really what the faculty basically, in a nutshell, what they're proposing to do is, particularly in light of the new strategic plan, which has one of its areas of focus is student success. And so we've had a number of discussions about this amongst ourselves and with others like the president, the provost, the chairs, the deans, et cetera, that I'm going to share with you. And so the Faculty Senate is thinking the focus we want to see if the university, as a university, if we could adopt a shared goal, and the shared goal could be focused on teaching and learning. And if we then can come up with a mix of strategies that are evidence-based, that are driven by what we know about what works and what doesn't work, and do it in a coordinated, team-based kind of way, that's kind of what we're proposing to do. And we think that student success, I mean, it's a multifaceted puzzle that requires a multifaceted set of strategies and activities to do. We think that faculty play a critically important role in advancing student success. We think that student success, we haven't really defined it in any operational way, but one way to look at it would be sort of to look at the two moving parts of student success, which to us would be teaching and learning. And so if we can provide professional development for faculty that's focused on teaching and learning, and we can do it together in a coordinated way over a short term and long term, we're going to be better off. There's obviously a very strong connection between, faculty, the instructional practices, the kinds of things that faculty do in terms of teaching, and the kinds of things that are outcomes in terms of student learning. So there's a very strong positive association between those two. And so we know also that we are doing some very good things at the university. So we're doing well, but we want to do better, in other words. So that's kind of a little bit of the context of how we started having this conversation. But I can tell you since then, since the summer, we've had conversations with the president, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a quick summary of what the gist of the conversation that we've had with the president. He likes the idea. He really likes the proposal. He's read it. He tore it apart. He made some suggestions. And his advice to us was, be sure to talk to the dean as quickly as possible, because they need to be involved in this. So we've had conversations with the dean. I've made presentations to the deans. And basically the deans, of course, it's a no-brainer. Can you name a dean who is not interested in strengthening teaching and learning? It's a no-brainer for deans. And they made a suggestion, two suggestions actually. One of them is, one of the deans made the suggestion of we need to do something about new faculty induction, which is a great idea. We had thought about, and we want to build it into what we're thinking about doing. And of course, their other piece of advice is be sure to talk to the chairs. And of course, the chairs, in our opinion, they are basically the instructional leaders of their respective units. The Faculty Senate is not going to come in and tell them what to do. The Faculty Senate is here to support them. That's what we are here to do. And so we've had a conversation with them, and I think it just this past week, as a matter of fact. And we've also had a conversation with other stakeholders, like the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, the Academy of Distinguished Teachers, and others who are involved. And so we've talked about, what we've discovered in our conversation with these other stakeholders is that we have some overlapping priorities. We're thinking about doing something, but somebody else is already doing it. I'll just give you a couple of quick examples. One of the activities we propose is for us to do some work that would promote and support and facilitate cross-disciplinary research across the disciplines. And so the center is already thinking about it. The College of Education and Psychology has done a whole year work on it last year as a pilot project. The nursing, College of Nursing has a plan for it. So we wanted to sit down and talk about how we can make this happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to appoint a task force that begins to think about these issues and how we can connect the dots, so to speak. And we want to work with all of these stakeholders, including the upcoming director of research, obviously. So this is sort of kind of give you a little bit of a lay of the land of what we've done so far and where we are. Now, I'm going to do a kind of a really quick walkthrough of the plan. And so I said that the Senate's role is really to assist, to facilitate, to help make things happen. And that's what we want to do. And so with that, go back to the Senate definition. Sure. And I'm going to do that in 5 minutes, but I'm going to make this available for everybody. And we would love to have your feedback. I want you to just to see what the HOP says about the purpose of the Senate. It's supposed to be a means of promoting effective participation of the faculty in the affairs of the university. It's supposed to provide a channel of communication and to advise and to recommend and to suggest things for us to do. And so with that, this is actually word for word in the HOP. And then the next thing that we want to do is, you can actually go pretty fast because I want to make sure that I'm respectful of the time. Who's doing thank you, Julie, if you can just keep going. So this is the goal. We were proposing that the university kind of really takes a studied approach to this whole idea of advancing faculty professional development. I have done work in this area myself, and I can share this with you, that in my experience over the last 30 years, I can summarize it in 2 sentences: good news, bad news. Good news is that we know what to do to have incredible professional development for faculty. The bad news, we don't always do what works. So what we want to do is to put all of this knowledge in place so that we can work together. Oh my goodness, working together, it's not a new idea, but we need to do it. Okay, thank you. So, and I'll give you a little bit of a rationale real quick. I'll walk you through this real quickly. There's a part of the rationale. This is a new day as far as we're concerned. At this university, it's new leadership, new strategic plan, new system-wide philosophy of shared governance, new voices. I think you can walk it, you can smell it, you can taste it. It's a new day. New things are happening on this campus. And so together, we have we need to seize the moment. We have an incredible opportunity to do some things out of the box. And so we're expected, by the way, you heard Amy talk about the QEP. We need to connect this dot. So we're doing all this work, strategic plan, the Center is proposing to do all these things. What if we connect that dot as well, instead of trying to recreate wheels here and there? So I'm not going to read that to you. So we're doing many things well. Excellent faculty, student enrollment has gone up. It's 10,527 this year. Excellent programs, a beautiful, well-maintained campus, and more to come. You heard the president yesterday talk about the other plans. We need to do better in some areas. Faculty engagement. I am absolutely delighted to see people show up today in ways that we haven't seen before, which is awesome. We need to continue this kind of tradition. Faculty development. We need to, as I mentioned, we really need to bring in the best thinking of what works in doing this kind of professional development. what I would call a studied approach to professional development. We know what to do, we just need to figure out and then do it. And so, please? From the Gallup survey that the provost did, it's 34% engaged. And the 66, if you want to kind of tear it apart, 17% of that is completely disconnected. Faculty that are completely disconnected. Dr. Mimran has and I can give you the summary of it. I'm not going to talk about this 68% of core. We talked about it earlier. And so the student preparedness, I don't need to tell you that we have students walking on campus who have difficulties reading and writing, which are posing problems in classrooms, in college classrooms. Would you agree with that? And that number, by the way, is not a small number. I can tell you what it is from my own check-in, and then we need some work in working together. We really need to do something about it in an intentional, deliberate, specific way. And so we're proposing to do a mix of coordinated activity, team-based, institution-wide engagement, and we need to think long-term. We need to think short-term and, of course, long-term. There are no quick fixes to completely turning around our faculty culture or student culture, whatever. We talk about student success. We really should be talking about faculty success as well, because the two dots are very, very correlated. They're very connected. They're associated in very important ways. So the next thing, Julie, if you can keep going, please. So faculty, the recommendation one is this is something, it's a low-hanging fruit. We can start doing this tomorrow. We can do a survey. In fact, one of our senators has a lot of expertise in doing this kind of survey work, and we could ask her to work with with Dr. Berman's office, the assessment office, to do something to help us about faculty perceptions. Activity two is a needs analysis of sorts that we need to kind of sit down and figure out what are the strengths, what are the needs, and so if we can have a studied approach, a data-driven approach to the kinds of professional development for faculty that we want to do. Why do we want to do this? It's at the very least, identify the success still things that are happening, uncover the challenges that are facing us right now, right here, develop initiatives to address the challenges and so forth, and then we can have a product. We can produce a report that can inform what we do. Well, that's really the most important part. Number three is, this is the interdisciplinary idea that we talked about. And I want to share with you the way last year in the College of Education and Psychology, we spent a whole year piloting this interdisciplinary thinking, but I just want to share with you very, very briefly. We use this report that's published by the National Academies. It's called Facilitated Interdisciplinary Research, which has a very interesting conception of doing interdisciplinary research. To summarize it for you real quick, they believe, the national group believe, that faculty are really not faculty of the discipline, they're faculty of challenges, problems, and issues, right? And so let me give you a very specific example. I have a problem this semester, a live example. I work with children who have reading problems, and they have some of them have significant problems to read, and they can't sound words out, and so forth and so on. So I need to that's a challenge that I have. I need to figure out a way to quickly capture that problem in some sophisticated way. So I went to a computer science engineer and an electrical engineer. And we are beginning to work on ways to capture the sound when a kid reads aloud, to capture the errors that the kids make, to capture the speed, to capture all of the parameters that are involved in the sound system and so forth, and to come up with some product that's going to help schools, help all that. That's a problem. That's an example of what I'm talking about. For example, guess what? I don't know that much about vision and hearing and sound systems and electrical engineering, that kind of thing. So I'm going to the expertise. Together we can do this. So this is a different notion of doing interdisciplinary. It's not just she and I publish something together, which of course we can do. We've been doing. It's a whole different way to look at the world. Number four is on-demand faculty professional development workshop. Guess what? Julie has been doing this for the whole year, past year. The next, we can have all kinds of outcomes that you know, on demand. You know, faculty needs something, and by the way, that on demand can come from that other needs analysis that we talked about. Number 5 would be this is actually something that the dean, I think, alluded to, this induction thing that they talked about, this on-the-job mentoring and coaching. In the business that I am in, we usually use the expression drive-through approach to professional development or spray and pray approach to professional development. You just throw something at the wall and you pray that it helps, that it's going to work, or the drive-through. This is a lot deeper, a lot better, a lot more research-driven than the kinds of things that, so number 6, it would be academies. What if we do something year-round that could become a tradition of the entire university, that we can have, we can call it a conference, an institute, an academy, whatever we want to call it, that would provide this incredible culture, thriving intellectual kind of environment. Number 7, faculty learning communities. We've been doing them. We're suggesting, let's continue doing that. It's just a good thing to do. Number 8, something else we've been doing as well with the provost. They have worked. And the only thing, I've said this before, those of you who heard me, forgive me, the only problem I have with the town halls and the faculty learning community, or any of these kinds of things, is that the follow through. If we meet and talk and identify issues, we've got to follow through and do something about it. Otherwise, it's a waste of time, right? And so number 9 would be faculty encounters. This is something that is really the intent here, is to build community among faculty, is to connect them with each other. Maybe a senior faculty can work with a new faculty, etc. So this is, again, to build that camaraderie, to build that relationship, to build that support infrastructure, etc., etc. And this is an idea that I stole from somewhere else, and people liked it for some reason. And then initiate a program in recognizing and excellence in the kind of work that we do. And when we say excellence, we need to define what that means. What does excellence really mean? And so, and that's something that when we do these town halls and these kinds of things, we'll be able to. So the next is, so we'll consider, again, I said there are no quick fixes. We need to do this long term, 3 to 5 years and more. And we're proposing that we do this in phases. That doesn't mean we should stop what we're doing. It means that let's take a studied approach to it. We can have a phase where we can do some design, discussions, and so forth, an implementation phase, and an evaluation phase. The evaluation phase is very important for me as an educational researcher, because guess what? We have to figure out a way to document effectiveness. If we don't, we're wasting time. I can tell you that. If we don't have, again, going back to that studied approach to doing faculty development, we have got to answer the question, what is working? What is not working? If we don't do that in a systematic, deliberate, intentional way, I think we're not doing well. And then finally, these are all the folks that we can think of that can be working together. The academy, the center, the research office, the provost, and on and on. The faculty senate. And again, the faculty senate is really sort of the troublemaker of sorts, is the facilitator, the body that can give you suggestions, ideas, and so forth. And then, of course, we would love to get input. What I think you heard the president talk about this week, the colleges are in the process of developing these ideas. They're going to be shared next week. We need to start thinking, talking about how this and what the QEP is doing and what the center is doing, what all these entities are doing, so that we can actually have some kind of a coordinated, a team-based, a connected dots kind of approach to doing this business that we're in. That's where we are.
I have one suggestion, and the thing that is impeding all of these possibilities, the thing that's impeding all of these possibilities that Squeeze just talked about is common. We don't have common planning time. Where we have different schedules all over the campus. Until this university creates a block of time or 2 blocks of time during the week where there are no classes where we can meet, this is going to be very difficult to achieve.
Yes. If those of you on Zoom, if you haven't heard it, basically Dr. Stevens is proposing that we have a common time when all faculty are available so we can facilitate these discussions. I think we have the Thursday, starting in spring, the Thursday time, but we could use those times. That's the intent of that. But you're right. I mean, if you look at the literature, as a matter of fact, if I can go back to that for just a second, the literature of leaders that have excelled in this kind of thing have done a series of things, one of which is what you just talked about. They have actually figured out a way to find time during the school day or the organizational's day when people actually have chance to not answer the phone, not do email, just think together about these kinds of things. And these are systems, what I think, the kinds of pieces, the moving parts that make things work. This is an important part of it. So, other questions? Does this sound okay? Does it sound wild out there? Does it sound, give me some feedback. Sounds good? Okay. Yes. Absolutely. We can turn this around if we are committed to it, if we truly want to do it. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Right, right. And that's another world that we need to look into. But at the very least, imagine if we can do not much this year except that provide an environment for faculty to have this conversation. If we do just that, I think we have succeeded. And then we have year 2, and we have year 3, and year 4, et cetera, to keep thinking, to keep planning, to keep building. That's why I said no quick fixes. We've got, and like a friend of mine used to say, you want to get anywhere, get started. We have got to get started. Now, I'm not suggesting we haven't done anything. I'm suggesting we haven't done much in a coordinated, systematic, connect the dots kind of way. That's what I'm saying. And please, I'm going to make this available on the website, or I can email it to you. This is the Cliff Notes version of the proposal. And please talk to us, any one of us, any of the senators. Let us know. And we want the senators to spread the word in colleges and departments and schools so that we can hopefully begin to have some of this conversation and get some of these things done. Thank you so much. We move to adjourn. Thank you, Mary. All are adjourning. This is a great start. The fact that you're Friday. I know.